Hi, Security Token Market family. I'm Jonas Schulman, Head of Communications. I'm joined here with Mohamed El-Masri. He is the Director and CEO at Brox Equity, and as well as the founder and CEO at Permian Chain blockchain protocol and platform. So excited to get this started and learn more about this amazing platform. And thank you to our partners, Redblock, and our Chinese media and Asian syndication partners to make this interview possible. So yeah, let's get started. Tell me about Brox and Permian Chain and the successes you've had in the last year and what you're working on. Excited to share that with our community.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jonah. This is very exciting. Well, we've been working on mainly integrating blockchain solutions in the energy sector. And this journey started off in 2018 when I was working on a few oil and gas transactions in North America because I was working as a corporate finance advisor at the time. And I realized the inefficiency and the financial requirements and the funding gap for oil and gas companies in the junior size. So there was a real funding gap over there and a significant opportunity for these oil and gas companies. But also at the same time, I was learning all about blockchain and cryptocurrencies and security tokens. And a lot has changed since 2015, and then into 2018, and then from 2018 up until today, the market is much more mature than it used to be. Um, we saw two major challenges for oil and gas companies. The first challenge was the market challenge, taking that natural gas to market, and which was basically a bottleneck for most oil and gas companies because they needed a solution for that gas. And until now, or recently, the main solution was to flare that gas. So burn it into the atmosphere, vent it, or and that's a major commercial setback and a major opportunity cost. It's a loss of income, it's a loss of value, it's a loss of revenues. So we saw that there's a market for this natural gas because there's a lot of energy resources that can be produced out of it on site without taking it to any market. So that's how Permian Chain evolved, where we recognize natural gas resources that are convertible into electricity to power on-site Bitcoin mining farms that are basically modular and mobile data centers in the form of shipping containers. And little did I know at the time, already, a lot of people were doing it, or a handful of people were already doing it across the US, Canada, Russia, Kazakhstan, different parts of the world. But there wasn't a single platform to connect individual miners to a low-cost, sustainable, responsibly produced energy source. And Permian Chain developed a digital energy marketplace that connects the Bitcoin miners with this responsibly produced energy resource, working directly with the energy producers. On the other hand, the funding challenge, we realized in order to implement such projects, most cash strapped. So we developed a proprietary platform for uh, digitizing the private placement process to raise capital to fund these companies' working capital requirements, expansion plans, growth, etc. But by working directly with broker dealers and other exempt market dealers that facilitate these transactions, and using the platform simply as a dashboard and a communication mechanism, and integrating the security token angle with that, allowing oil and gas companies to issue their own Ethereum-based digital securities. Just as viewers know, and there's a lot of efficiencies and benefits that come with digitizing your assets or your equity or your shares. And Brox was a company that I started in parallel to Permian Chain, in order to apply that business model, right? And it just so happened that it worked out in parallel simultaneously. And now Brox has a oil and gas team that is focused on identifying, acquiring, and producing from stranded wells across Alberta. Very senior professionals that are working on the operation. And we developed Brox as a Bitcoin energy company that then allows um, you know miners from all over the world to contribute to Canada's stranded natural gas assets by simply consuming it on site and making a more commercially viable resource for communities where we operate.
Amazing, amazing work. It's a really unique use case. I've talked to a lot of security token issuers talking about so many different type of industries that they're trying to disrupt. I've yet to come across an industry of one like this with natural energy, natural gas, and energy and commodities, and bringing that all into one ecosystem. And I'm interested to hear more. I was reading on your publication about Permian chain and the inefficiencies in the energy industry. And I was curious of why you chose a permission blockchain versus permissionless. I was just wondering what your thoughts were behind that and why you decided to go that way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're dealing with a very um, a sector that has legacy systems that is really traditional in its nature, that is highly complex, and appreciate a high level of confidentiality, right? And when you're trying to enterprise level, you need to speak to these concerns. And I think the fact of having a decentralized platform or protocol that allows just anyone to see your reserve reports or your production capacity, so on and so forth, will cause some level of sensitivity. So that the other reason is because you're dealing with another, what I just mentioned, a regulated market from the security side and from the energy side. So you want to keep things to a certain extent controlled, by human touch. So there's a lot of manual processes that need to go into digitizing, the business model that we are adopting on these oil and gas sites, and that's one of the main reasons.
I think I would agree with that sentiment a lot. These legacy systems are used to operating in an environment where they have control, what to do, what not to do, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I think, at least in the short term, more legacy systems and industries that are used to, have been operating for centuries and years and years and years, they're going to want to control and probably would choose permission blockchain over public blockchain at first, and then once maybe they understand how blockchain works, they would see benefits of public blockchain. But I think, yeah, that is a great way to get people on board first. Like, you're just using blockchain technology and in creating efficiencies in the inefficient industry you're in, but you still have control at the same time. So it's kind of a win-win for them, I would say. So yeah, interesting point there. I also wanted to go into, you guys are doing a security token offering, the Brox token offering. I wanted to hear, also myself and our community would love to hear what are the terms of the offering, what investor rights they have, how much you guys raising, what is the purpose of this capital raise, etc.
Yeah. See, the Brox token is really the first of its kind multi-commodity digital security representing equity in a vertically integrated business that operates in natural gas production, power generation, and Bitcoin mining. And really, a Bitcoin energy company, a new generation of a group of companies that are working to provide low cost power, sustainable energy production, responsibly produced to the blockchain network. Currently, we're focused on Bitcoin mining, but the world is going into a digital shift, into a digital economy that eventually would be based on the block cryptocurrency and blockchain and the underlying technologies is all a new form of allowing a new form of commerce. So in in order to do that, you need the infrastructure to power this network. And Brox was created for that purpose and continues to operate with that mission. And the Brox token evolved basically reduce the high barriers to entry into such a sector. Have a more streamlined approach into investing in Bitcoin energy or era energy companies. And digital securities allow for that and of these benefits. So the Brox token represents really a class of shares of Brox equity, which is the mother, the parent company of all the subsidiaries that are the 4 subsidiaries that are operating in the natural gas power generation and Bitcoin mining. So if you own the Brox token, then you actually own a digital representation of the company's Class B common shares. And that allows you basically to be a shareholder and have all the shareholder rights that you would enjoy if you owned a share certificate in paper form. It's the same thing, just the difference is we're issuing it in a digital format on the blockchain. It's an immutable, transparent ledger, and we intend throughout the process and depending on how the business model evolves and succeeds, to allow shareholders or holders of the Brox tokens to get access and exposure to this digital asset, Bitcoin, right? This valuable asset class is basically has a lot of risks to it when you're trying to invest in it directly, because you really need to get acquainted and comfortable and familiar with setting up a wallet, backing up the wallet, making sure you have your proper backup security protocols in place for yourself personally, whether it's your own wallet or a corporate wallet or institutional wallet. So there are a lot of solutions out there like Gemini and others that provide custody solutions and wallet solutions, which make it easier for people to invest in Bitcoin. But again, you are subject to solely that volatility of the Bitcoin price if you're looking at it from an investment point of view.
Right.
And not a long-term utility, right? For me personally, Bitcoin is something that I would hold for as long as possible because I believe in its utility. I believe in its use case, and I'd want to use it for my day-to-day expenses or my day-to-day life in the future. Currently, I'm what you call a hodler, right? But most people want to invest in Bitcoin, but they don't know how. And Brox token allows us to distribute dividends in Bitcoin from the mining operations that we have on the ground. And we streamline that through the Permian Chain platform eventually, where shareholders who have their accounts and hold their Brox tokens, they can then communicate with their issuer directly and receive their statements, their dividends, their income in the form of Bitcoin if they opt in for it. But eventually we intend for the Brox token to also have a secondary market, but we're still investigating a few exchanges that we would intend to list on in the near future.
Cool. So that's an awesome use case. I think that people from the private investment or the public investment, or anyone who's investing and wants exposure to Bitcoin, not only gets exposure to your amazing operations, but they also get exposure to Bitcoin. So that is a win-win, and I'm sure you're going to drive a lot of people there.
And the fallback there is you got your natural resource, right? So most of the Bitcoin mining companies out there don't own the energy, don't own the power chain, right? They don't control their destiny when it comes to power. So our whole strategy revolves around, and that's why we have senior oil and gas professionals on the board and on the management team, because we know how to identify quality assets, quality energy assets, acquire them, extract these resources responsibly, and convert them into power. So when you own the power chain, you control your operational costs, you control a lot of other factors that you would not be able to control if you were just on gas purchase agreements or power purchase agreements. So our fallback is our resources, and we're creating, by having the Brox token, you're actually creating an investable digital asset off of natural resources.
Right. So you have a whole value chain right there. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. It's I mean, every time I speak about it, it's just I never thought this would have ever been possible, right?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's super innovative. I'm glad we're connecting, and I'm glad the community can learn about this project.
Yeah, I like that.
I have a fun question for you, and I think I know where your opinion's going to be. So, Elon Musk with all his tweeting about Bitcoin, how it's bad for the environment, and he did. I don't know if he did a ton of research. I'm assuming he didn't, but a huge part of where Bitcoin mining energy comes from is from the excess energy from natural resources, and it sounds like that's exactly what's happening with your operation. So, what is your opinion with Elon Musk and all of his opinions there with how it's bad for the environment and Bitcoin's horrible and all that?
I mean, I believe every person at that level
Right.
tweeting publicly um, on such things uh, would, to a certain extent, have their own agenda behind it, right? So I have nothing against Elon Musk. I'm actually, not a huge fan, but I'm a fan of. I respect his work, but he has probably his own agenda, right? To be tweeting about those things, or it could be just an opinion that he wanted to express. But knowing that he has a certain amount of influence, he would have known the outcome of any of his tweets. So that's why I say that he might have had his own agenda, and I strongly believe that. But I don't believe that Bitcoin is significantly, as it is exaggerated in the mainstream or in the media, significantly damaging to the environment. I think there's a lot of exaggeration behind it. There's always efficiencies that need to be improved. There are always technologies that are going to be introduced in the future that are going to improve efficiency of mining operations, of power consumption, so on and so forth. But when you're using excess, wasted, or stranded energy, you're ultimately creating a net benefit to the communities where you are operating. And I recently had a call with some oil and gas companies in Nigeria, right, in Africa, and they've been eyeing, there are large Bitcoin transactions happening in Nigeria, and as you may know, Nigeria is huge when it comes to holding Bitcoin. There's a lot of wallets and Bitcoin supply that is held by Nigerian investors or hodlers, and they mentioned that the only thing that attracts them about using excess or wasted natural gas to produce electricity and mine Bitcoin is the fact that it'll give back to the community, right? And in Nigeria, you cannot really operate anywhere when it comes to natural resources unless you have an agreement with the community to give back to the community a certain percentage of your revenues or income, and they will allow you to operate. So it's a community run country. Wherever you go, you have to have agreements with that community where you are operating. So in Canada, it's because of our strict and standard regulations. uh, I mean, by nature, you're benefiting the community of that place where you are operating, especially when you're making revenue as a company, you're paying taxes, you're benefiting government. Government then is able to spend more. The people, you're creating jobs for technician, for petroleum engineers that have been out of jobs in this predominantly oil and gas focused province. A lot of people have lost their jobs because of the way the oil and gas industry took a hit during the past 2 years, and uh, previously, it's already been having challenges as a sector. So this is really a recovery plan. This business model contributes to the recovery of any economy that is that has an abundance and rich oil and gas resources that need to be commercialized and that are not being monetized currently. So when you weigh the benefits, versus these environmental concerns that are made mostly exaggerated, you realize that it just makes perfect sense to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a really good point. And I think that's a perfect segue. So, Brox and Permian Chain are based in Canada. So,
Yeah.
the U.S. private securities exemptions you can raise from accredited investors if you use Reg D 506C, or if you can solicit with 506C. Reg S is international investors. Reg CF is retail, and Reg A plus is retail. So, what kind of exemptions or regulations exist in Canada? And for the BTO offering, who are you targeting as well?
Yeah, the Brox token offering targets eligible accredited investors. And in Canada, when you're offering a private placement under available prospectus exemptions. So basically, you're only offering it to accredited investors, family and friends, business associates, people who understand the risks involved in investing in illiquid securities or illiquid assets or private placements, not publicly listed companies. Then there are exemptions to that. And it really depends how you market it, how you promote it, how you push it. Of course, you need an exempt market dealer, which is equivalent to a broker dealer in the US, to distribute your offering and be the basically face investor relations face in front of the subscribers or the people who want to invest. So there are exemptions, and we're using these exemptions, or we're complying with these certain exemptions to issue the Brox token offering. So it is only being offered to eligible accredited investors, and there are national instruments that talk to that, and we can definitely share more details if you'd like, and have our EMD reach out.
Sure, great. And then for once the offering closes, what kind of secondary liquidity solutions are you looking for? Are you looking at T0, the international exchange merge? Are you going to do more maybe decentralized marketplace? What do you have in mind?
Yeah, so given that it's a security, you need to comply, and we can only list on regulated exchanges in whatever jurisdiction we decide to make a market for this. But we are working on a merge listing application, so that's in the works. We've hired a sponsor in the Seychelles to get us listed on the merge. Um, we are investigating the other exchanges that are regulated, like T0 and the rest. But I think there is a market for what we are offering, and there is a lot of appetite for something like this. And it's a matter of educating the people through the right channels. And these channels need to be those regulated exchanges. And we definitely intend to go that route.
Absolutely, absolutely. That'd be exciting to see which platform you use. That's
I
one.
have a question for you guys, because you do a lot of research on the digital securities market. What's the current market cap right now of digital securities?
Yeah, so yeah, stomarket.com, we track over 102, 105 security tokens with live trading data from marketplaces around the globe. As of this morning, I believe it was 787 million. So we passed 800 million not too long ago, but it's been moving fast. I remember tracking it last year, July or August, we were at just 100 million range. So with the addition of assets we've added and with the addition of assets appreciated in value, it's been really booming, and I'm sure Brox will eventually help with that increase. Maybe we'll get 1 billion by end of 2021. Yeah. We're all the whole community on Twitter and social media is pushing for that mark. So that'll be fun to watch. Yeah.
Now the market has really evolved from where it was just a year ago. It's incredible.
It really has. Yeah, I've been on the social media and marketing team with Security Token Market for about 3 years now, and I talk about this a lot. When we first started making content, it was very difficult to find anything. We'd search the web for hours, but now we can't keep up. Like there's so much going on, which is I think a great.
Yeah. No, you guys are doing a great job, and also other companies like our EMD in British Columbia, Atlas One Digital Securities. They're basically Canadian broker dealer for digital securities, and they're also doing a lot of research and educating the market on that. And it seems there's really a lot of traction and momentum picking up on a quarterly basis. You see a lot of different increase in those numbers.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's George Nass, correct, at Atlas One.
Yeah, great team to work with.
Yeah, absolutely, great guy. Yeah, very cool. The security token industry is awesome. Honestly, one of my favorite use cases, or I guess sentiment revolving around the industry is that everyone gets a piece of the pie. You are able to crowdfund and democratize access to the private markets that were once exclusive to private investors, accredited investors, with connections behind closed doors. And with we're not entirely there yet, but the sentiment in the U.S. is we're moving towards retail access to these private investments and fractionalized investments that allow people to have access. That's my favorite attribute of security tokens. What would you say that your favorite attribute is?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it really reduces the barriers to entry. It allows smaller investors to literally create wealth. I mean, generally not just security tokens, but also cryptocurrencies. They revolutionized how wealth is created. And the whole socioeconomic construct of the world right now is changed because of decentralized finance, because of blockchain, because of cryptocurrencies, and now security tokens, which allow you really to own equity in successful private companies. And the fact that these companies, if you invest in them, you're locked up for who knows how long until the company finds an exit route or an exit solution. And you are able to now tap into a higher form of liquidity. They might not be liquid for a certain period of time, but the potential and the ability for liquidity is technically there. And you just have to find the buyer, and you'll be able to transact almost instantaneously. Yep. As long as you have the right platforms. But it's just growing that market, making that market. And in regions like, for example, the Middle East, you have $2.6 billion of funding gap for small and medium enterprises, right? And really a large chunk of money that could be tapped into through the cryptocurrency and the digital securities market. Because small and medium enterprises in those regions, whether it's Middle East, North Africa, or different parts of the world, they don't have access to bank loans or funding, because 80 or 90% of SMEs around the world don't get funding from the bank, because these banks in these regions are real estate focused. So they'll lend you based on property or based on cash flow. So as a small business, you can't go to the bank and just take a loan. There's a lot of complexities. And this unlocks really untapped capital, untapped liquidity, and allows people of all sizes to generate wealth. And I think within the next 5 years, there's a major increase in this volume, and people, once they start, or business owners, once they start understanding how to venture into that space and how to offer such security tokens against their company, then they'll be much more comfortable to do that. I mean, currently, a lot of companies need that technology, need that service, but they just don't understand it, and they don't have the mental capacity to go and educate themselves about it. So it's platforms like yourselves that need to keep doing their job and educating everyone about it.
Absolutely. I think we're still a little bit in that educational stage. I think, the jargon and the terminology, blockchain, cryptocurrency, mining, it's all like kind of intimidating. I also think there's still a little bit of runoff from the ICO era with the negative manipulation. Whenever you hear the word Bitcoin or crypto or blockchain, like people are like, oh, run, But I think that people have to understand is that it follows all securities laws, security tokens. I mean, the compliant ones, You follow all securities laws. The main difference is the infrastructure that it runs on, and it's efficient in every way, shape, or form. Once, innovation moves a lot faster than regulation, so I think the innovation is there. The regulatory bodies around the world are slowly catching up, and once that's there, the sky is the limit. Beyond the sky, to be honest. It's going to be amazing.
Definitely. No, it's amazing. I mean, you can issue securities from space eventually, right? So how far it can go. If they decide to make a world on space, then there's no lack of funding anymore, right? You don't have to come down to you don't have to come down to Earth and visit a bank branch to open an account.
I've just seen an internet connection. Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson are moving there. I would be surprised if they don't, do something with digital securities sometime. They're very innovative and forward-thinking. But I think this was a great interview, Mohamed. I'm excited to speak with you. And we're definitely going to promote this on our social media platforms, get the word out about Brox. We're going to be listing Brox, or not listing, but we're going to have Brox's verified primary offering on our website, as well as we have a blog post coming on our Medium soon discussing his offering and his company. So look out for that. Amazing. All right, Mohamed, we'll be in touch. It's great meeting you and speaking with you. And
take care, guys.
Keep grinding.